listen. It's good.
The games will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be games.
That's from Annie, which is a musical that most people listening to this podcast will have no idea what that means or where it's from.
Do you don't think that listeners of this fine broadcast are familiar with the American classic Little Orphan Annie and the musical
Little Orphan
version?
Annie came out didn't it come out in like 1982?
In the 20. Well, I mean, the comics were probably from the fucking 50s or something.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Yes, actually, I just wikied this because I wanted to know.
Thank you.
A daily American comic strip first, which I never really remembered because when I was a kid, the movie came out in 1982, and that was my memory.
No, the movie was the touch point for our generation, but it was based on comics. But when were the comics? Now that you have the wiki open, thank you.
1924.
Oh, wait, it was in the 20s.
When they started.
Crazy. Yes. And it's about the 20. So it was about contemporary life at that time, I think, because it's about the 20. Or no, it's well, the musical takes place in the 40. Okay, now I got to
probably tweaked it around a little bit.
Yes,
but at any rate, some people might be like, "What the fuck is that?" So just saying, that's what it is.
Listen,
it's a little song. The sun will come out tomorrow, but it's just we rewrote it a little.
If you are listening to our voices right now, hop into the Discord or send us an email, which is, I believe it's haveenteredthechat@gmail.com. I got to confirm that. Haveenteredthechat@gmail.com, or hop into the Discord, which is linked in the show notes. If you do not know or are not familiar with The Sun Will Come Out or the musical Annie, you got to let us know. Because you know what? Even though it's ancient, kids have been doing the play in high school theater for generations. You know what I mean? It's one of those American classic things, I suppose.
Yeah, like of people for a certain age, I feel like they would know of it. I don't know. I could be wrong.
This is the test. This is the test. Come on in. Let us know if you understood that reference. And, oh, by the way, this is Colette and Matt Adventure the Chat, a weekly conversation about video games, video game culture, online communities, and the digital worlds that we love to inhabit. My name is Matt Silverman, and finally, she's back, the co-host of this very program, Colette Bennett. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. How's your new house?
I was just about to say, where was I? I was moving into a new house.
That's correct.
I come back this week in a new form, homeowner.
She has evolved into her final form, which is homeowner.
Honestly,
home co-owner.
I feel like co-owner. I feel like there's a few things in life that feel like the most adult of adult, and this is one of them. Like I was like, oh, I have adulted on the max level at this point.
Truly, I don't know that there's much more for you to do, especially if there's no children to be had in the equation. Then you've done it.
I can plan my funeral. I can write a will.
Right, that's true.
Those are probably more adult than buying a house, but I'm not going to do that right now.
401k.
Already done that. Been doing that for about 15 years, actually. Now it's been. So yeah, no, already did that step. Also felt adult. But there's nothing more adult than standing in your new home and going, wonder what's going to break first.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. That's the cliche that everyone always says, but either we've been very fortunate where we've not had a lot of drama, although only in recent years have we had to make a bunch of repairs, but the benefits far outweigh that sort of I don't know what you call it, inconvenience or worry, especially because I hope you don't mind me sharing, the equation of your living expenses you shared with me is goes way down. Even though you own a home, which is bigger and better, you're cutting your rent in half, which is insane in some regard. It's kind of wild.
Yep. Yeah, it actually is. It's so funny because I had some stressors at work this week and I was kind of I had this thought oh my God, I have a mortgage now. And then my next thought was I have a mortgage now. this stressor could affect that. And then my next thought was, it would be easier for me to have a mortgage and pay it than it would for me to have paid for my apartment.
Yeah. Because look, if God forbid you couldn't pay it, you're out on your ass anyway. And then,
Right.
the thing about owning is like you're putting that money in and it continues to be yours.
Right.
You're paying the interest, but like one day you'll have paid it all off and then you can just cruise for the rest.
Yeah, that's certainly the hope. So, and I mean, honestly, like what I'm hoping to do most of all is the same tactic that you do if you're smart with credit cards, which is overpay the mortgage payment.
Yep.
So I'm hoping to do that too. But this is probably not very interesting conversation for people who like
finance.
Video games. But
this is what I do
for my new part of my life.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Hey, this is a show about personal updates as much as the games that we're playing. But this is the joke that I say when friends of the kids come over, or the kids are like, "Hey, what are you talking about?" And I just like growing up stuff, mortgages, taxes, wills. Just like that's like the default answer of like, "Hey, whatever we're talking about here doesn't concern you," so we just make it as boring as possible. Mm-hmm. But and it's the fucking most boring shit ever. Mm-hmm. Look, not a financial professional, but also there are other equations that we've been looking at, which is like, hey, if the interest, like we refinanced our home and our interest rate on our home is super low. So there is a bit of shuffling where it's like, well, we should pay off our car instead of paying our home because we're actually saving money.
Right.
By paying off the higher interest things than the lower interest things. So, or investing the money, meaning like, hey, don't take money out of your investments if you're getting a 7% return to pay off your home that only has a 2% interest or whatever, because you feel like you're paying down debt, but you're actually losing money because you're not making the money on the other thing. So anyway, fun adult things.
That's funny. Yeah. So yes, home owning. And funny enough, coming to this podcast this week and going, man, I've been so busy like unpacking and stuff that like I haven't played anything, but that's okay because we can still talk about video games. I don't have to have played video games.
No, you have to play them. No, I'm just kidding.
I am going to play tonight, but that's neither here nor there.
Woo! I know it's Friday night, baby. What are you going to play? More Silent Hill?
I think so, because I really want to get back to it. And I've been away now for about a week with the move. And I was just like talking to a friend about it who just got to the same part I'm at. And I kind of want to be like in line with like where he is so we can talk about it. It's actually fun. Pedro from our Discord.
Nice.
And so I was like, man, I really want to get back to it. And I don't have anything else going on. It's been a long week. So I'm like, yeah, definitely I'm going to do it.
Is the TV and the game systems and the PC, is everything set up and wired up and ready to roll? You sent me some pictures. Yeah.
No, we did all that.
The cozy spaces are activated already.
The cozy spaces are activated. The stuff I've been ignoring has been like upstairs bedrooms that are going to be turned into like, like our personal space and stuff like that. But like every heavily used area has been set up.
VR gymnasium, the important things.
Well, the funny thing is that, okay, so we moved in and our living room has like a fireplace in the middle and like it's the way it's set up. There's really not a good place for the TV except if you mount it over the fireplace.
The fireplace is in the center of the room or like the center. Yep. Oh, physically in this, like it's not on a wall. It's like in the center.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool, but I see what you mean about where does the TV go?
A lot of people just mount it over these fireplaces, I know. And so we were like, all right, we've got to get someone to come in and mount it. That's going to take a minute, right? So we're like, what should we do? So we have two TVs. So we stick one in our bedroom. We're like, oh yeah, this is the shit. Like giant TV in our bedroom. And then Patrick put the other one in the bedroom he's going to use for his personal space. And he was like, welcome to the PC cafe.
Yeah.
And so that really made me laugh. But when you walk in there, he's got a desk, the PC, and then he's got a 55-inch television.
Yeah. Hell yes. A PC is just a fancy game console that also does Word documents, man.
No,
come on.
It totally is, but it just made me laugh. And I was like, man. So I'm taking a risk because he might listen to this and hear it. But now I'm all about the idea of like going on Etsy and finding someone to carve me a little like wood sign or something that's like PC Cafe.
That's adorable. And, you know, look, I'm not gonna tell you how to set up your house, but like, I kind of dig the idea of the living room cozy space being perhaps screen free because the centerpiece of that room is a beautiful fireplace. So maybe that is like a cozy book reading, entertaining area, and then you go in the other bedrooms to play cool PC games and
the
PS5.
funny thing about you saying that is we already had that conversation because at first we were like, all right, you know, we got it. We had the TV down here and it was like sitting in front of the fireplace, and then we were like, you know what? It's kind of nice with nothing down here. And so a couple nights ago, Patrick was like, oh, I subscribe to the New York Times. I was like, oh, cool. And then he was like, oh, you want to see some games from New York Times games? I was like, oh, yeah. So he gave me his iPad and we sat on the sofa for like an hour and just played New York Times games together.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so fun. And then I was like, I kind of like not having a TV in here because we were absolutely like many couples, the default, like turn on YouTube and just watch whatever. Sure. You know, it's kind of like the new cable, really.
Or
it.
The mode that we end up in often is like someone is playing something on one screen and the other person is watching or listening to something on another screen, and we're together, but we're not really doing anything together, you know, which can be lovely and can also be like, hey, like we haven't spoken in a week or so. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like really like connected with your partner.
It is amazing how easy it is to like do that and just stop talking
because everyone's wiped out after work and or kids, and then you're at the end of your day and you're just like, she just, you know. My wife is like, give me Vampire Survivors and a trash TV show. And I'm like, great, you do that. I'm going to play Baldur's Gate. Great. And, you know, that's fine until you go too long and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And then you're like, I don't feel like I know my partner anymore. And that's weird.
Why haven't we talked about anything?
Right. So, yeah, I think it's definitely, it's a really nice thing. I've thought about it before, but it's really nice to actually experience it. And I also have like this really big window. I swear to God, this is the last thing I'm going to say of my house. I have this really big window in my in my living room now that like looks out on the backyard, which is like very foresty, bunch of trees. It's beautiful. And I like to just sit there in the sun in the morning and like read a book for an hour or two. And I'm you're living the dream. This is so dope. Like, I love it. So it's great. I think these are like middle-aged joys, but
it's just, I don't know. It's nice. It's not even like having nice things. It's just like having like basic middle class things and like looking out a window and seeing nature and having sunshine is like, we shouldn't have to, that shouldn't be so hard to attain in this world, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I agree with you. And I think, you know, we're lucky, right? That like green spaces are available, you know, luckily to everyone. But there is a special, like for me, for instance, I'm a light junkie. So no matter what apartment I lived in, it was just never enough light. And finally, it's like, oh my God, a house with like floor to ceiling windows in every room. Yeah. Life changing.
Oh, that was what I meant to ask you. Is it a fairly new construction or is it like an older house?
No, I believe it was built in the 70s. So it's been around for a minute. Luckily, the past owner like replaced some stuff for us. So like some of the major replacements you'd have to worry about, he already did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have that very lucky thing going for us.
It's tricky and I don't know a ton about it, but it's like splitting the difference of like, if it's brand spanking new and everything is like hot off the presses, then as long as it's not built cheaply, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of the build, right?
Yeah.
And or if it's a very, very old house like ours, I mean, not very old, but like I think ours was built in the 1930s. Anytime like an inspector or a repair person comes in, they're like, whoa, this is solid brick and solid wood and all these things that were like things were built, you know, hardcore back in the day. So our house has really good bones, but because it's old, we needed to update and fix and whatever. So it was like, I don't know, there's two sides of that coin about your worry about like, oh God, we gotta if something goes wrong, we got to fix it. Of like, you might be in a good sweet spot between like old and new, with if it's built in the 70s plus the previous owner like did some updates for you. You've probably got 5 to 10 years before you replace anything.
Right, that's what we're hoping. That would be really, really great. So we will see what happens, but at the moment, I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations.
Yay. For listeners, I'm definitely open to homeowner tips. So
send them on in.
Discord, feel free to send them on in.
Email, whatever you got, especially as they relate to, video games and entertainment. I gave you a homework assignment to wire up your house for all the good internet connectivity. Hopefully you did some of this.
Well, we're using the internet that the previous folks had, and we're investigating. But what we're thinking about getting is fucking rocket fast. So we just have to get it set up to do that. But
I just mean like running wires so that all the points in the house, have a or anyway. I like the Apple TVs and the PCs and the game consoles to be connected to wires whenever possible, because even with the best Wi-Fi system, I just move over to the corner and then oopsies, there's weird, things in the wall here that mess it up. I don't know. But
no, you're right. You're totally right. And I think that is something that we're going to have to keep working on. At the moment, things are functioning, but
Sweet.
There'll be more to come.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you that there's some breaking news. Not really breaking news, but like some pretty interesting, one big interesting story that we have been keeping an eye on here this week. We're recording on Friday. That's when this will go out and when you are probably listening to it. Earlier, you know what it was? I think it was middle to late last week. Nintendo said, hey, if you have Switch Online, I don't know if you needed the expansion pack or not. I think you might have. They said, hey, if you've got Switch Online and you're signed up, you are eligible to kick the tires to beta test something, some online service that we are testing. So sign up and we'll let you know. And so 10 bajillion people were like, yep, I'll do it. And then this week, they said, okay, you, and you, however many people they selected, they said, okay, you're in the test. And they started, they allowed those select users to download the data for this test, which went down on October 23rd, which was 2 days ago. So Wednesday or Thursday. Yes, this was Wednesday. But and Nintendo said specifically to all these testers, they said, this is top secret. You cannot stream this. You cannot take pictures of it. You cannot talk about it. This is just a test for you. Please sign here. You will never speak of this. And of course, within about 0.5 milliseconds,
that people did?
Not even before the playtest was active, the internet started data mining the stuff that was downloaded to the console to reveal some very interesting things about what this thing is or could be or what they have been testing. So I sent some news articles your way. I sent some images, leaked images and leaked videos, which also began to get erased. Like, of course, people were like streaming it immediately on YouTube and Twitch. And I think a lot of the channels that were using sort of like mainstream internet platforms were shut down, banned, blocked, whatever. But obviously it's the internet. So images and videos still exist online. You just can't upload them to YouTube safely.
Got it.
So I sent these to you. And I am curious what you have seen, what you make of it, what you think of any of this.
Well, I knew it was happening because I saw talk in the Discord, but it was kind of like I saw it while I was like carrying boxes or putting boxes somewhere. So I was like, yeah, there's something going on, but I'm just going to have to look at it later. So listeners, before the show today, us recording, I really didn't look. So I was like, okay, I kind of know that it's like Minecraft clone-y, sort of. The videos I watched, like, basically, yes, it is super blocky. I can clearly see they hope to appeal to people who like that. But if this makes sense, it's blocky but not ugly. And I know that like Minecraft lovers are going to be like, oh, how dare you? But I still maintain that Minecraft is ugly. Not that it's not fun or cool, but I think it's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a little bit more of a polished blockiness that Nintendo went for.
Mm-hmm.
It looks to me like I'm kind of getting a vibe of like, okay, like there's definitely buildings going on. There's definitely like teleporters. So that seems kind of cool. But like as a whole, I'll admit, like I don't really understand how this game plays.
Like what's going on? Yeah, no, I don't think.
Like I'm like, what am I looking at? Like I'm like, okay, so I see menus that allow you to like do stuff. So it's got to be buildy, but my brain doesn't quite grok what exactly we're going for here.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games that it's random snippets of gameplay and screenshots. So I'm sure if Nintendo packaged a trailer to be like, here's what it is, then it would make sense. But we're just looking at little pieces, right?
Right. But
like the exciting thing about this is that it very much appears to be like a big open-ended MMO. Like it's not like, oh, drop in with your friends. It's like, oh no, there's a large world. This is a large world to inhabit with thousands or perhaps millions of other players. And so this idea that, hey, Nintendo's making an MMO and they just dropped it onto, 5,000 consoles, and now we're unpacking what the heck it is very exciting to me. Quoting from this IGN article, gameplay shows a somewhat bizarre third-person MMO in which players move blocks about on a planet's surface. The odd-looking avatars can use a rope swing like Spider-Man and attach to surfaces in the world. It's been likened to Minecraft, which you said, and Dragon Quest Builders, with the focus on carrying blocks around and placing them to create ever higher staircases. So to me, that reads as like the playscape is very open, but the world will be built in real time by players, maybe, which is very. I love this shit. Like I'm a day one sign up, ready to go. Especially, well, this is an interesting point of conversation. We'll get it. We'll unpack this as we go. A Nintendo MMO is really exciting to me because it's going to be fun and family friendly and polished and cute and just creative, right? And on the flip side, so many of these experimental Nintendo projects have so quickly fallen by the wayside.
Right, that you're like, should I even get excited? Like,
should I invest time or money? Like, I mean, I will. I obviously will. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I really hope that this is a hit and is successful and becomes like a staple of Nintendo's online ecosystem. And I'm going to read more about the gameplay in a moment, but I do also want to cite from we're referencing an IGN article and an Insider Gaming article, which explains that some of the data mining shows that this is something codenamed Rockstock and is also perhaps being developed by Nintendo EPD4, which is like a unit of Nintendo. It's a studio inside Nintendo or a developer group that has made the weirdest, coolest, most experimental stuff that Nintendo has put out, such as Miitopia, 1-2 Switch, Nintendo Labo, Ring Fit, Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training.
I remember that.
Right? The Jump Rope Challenge, which was like a free app for something. Was it for phones or Switch, where you like use the Joy-Cons to just jump rope and count your totals? It was like so fleeting and silly, and it never caught on. But Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, which I think was the remote control Mario Kart, like the toys to life, like you're driving Mario Kart with your phone, but it's really driving around your house. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. That was actually really cool.
It's
but
cool.
Did that happen?
It did.
It did. Okay.
You're proving my point. Game Builder Garage, which I own and experimented with and thought was really creative, and then immediately stopped playing. Big Brain Academy, Switch Sports, which is excellent. 1-2 Switch, Nintendo World Championships, which is also great and interesting. And then I was like, this is cool, and never played it again. And finally, this group is also responsible for the Nintendo Alarm Clock, Alarmo, which just came out, which we covered 2 episodes ago.
How funny. Okay.
Point being, this group makes the coolest shit that Nintendo ever makes, and every single thing on this list is stuff that I've touched or bought or tried, and I'm like, neat, and then stopped using.
Interesting. So you like it up front, but for some reason it doesn't give you that sticky feeling of like, I need to come back.
Yes. And I get what I'm saying is I want this to hit the mark. I want this to be a live service MMO. I want there to be lots of things to do. I want to meet other players. I want to join a guild. I want to build stuff with people. I want to level up. I want to unlock cosmetics. I want to do all the things in an MMO Nintendo style. And I guess I'm pre-worried that it's going to be like, it's really interesting. And then there's nothing more to do, you know?
Yeah. I'll be honest, looking at the screens and the videos that you showed me, I don't want to play this at all.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Not at all. But I mean, I am not, I have played Minecraft. I think the thing I enjoyed the most about Minecraft was the music, but I'm not, just because I said it was ugly, I'm not trying to really like shit on it. I totally get it. It's just not for me, really. But I get how people could get into the vibe. You know what I mean?
If this did not include the survival aspects, meaning like dig for this ore and craft it into this so you can make this and then you can make this. What if it was just more of a social, chill something game? I don't know. Does that modify the equation for you at all? The interest level?
Probably not. Like, yeah. I just am not attracted to this in any way. I don't want to play with a bunch of other people, but we've talked about this over the years. I don't want to play with a bunch of other people. I'm not interested in like doing things and like participating to build things with other people. And I also don't like the way it looks. Like, I don't think it's ugly. I just don't want, like, I'm not attracted to this at all. I could look at this and bounce off it in a second. Yeah,
it's very, look, it's a beta test of basically like online services. So who knows what it will actually look like? But I don't know. There's something about it. Oh, this is actually a video. I thought this was an image. There is something about it where it's like there's social spaces, there's communal spaces where you're like getting educational information, but you're like sitting next to other players. It's basically like, hey, don't fuck around and don't, I'm sure it's like, don't build penises in this game or you'll be banned,
Right, of course. The usual, but still.
I gotta turn the sound off on this. Yeah, I don't know. The exact things that are turning you off from it are exactly what's really getting me very interested. Yeah. I just want to continue from the IGN article, which we'll link in the show notes. There is a player progression system with avatars able to level up in the hub area. There's a shop too, and players can unlock new tools to help with the building part of the game. Footage shows the hub area packed with player avatars, and on the planet, multiple players stacking blocks within and without their beacons. So there's some sort of beacon system where you, maybe I mentioned, like you place a beacon and that becomes a habitable or buildable space. I guess what I'm hoping to see is like, what if the developers have made like secret closed surprise areas that the entire world has to work together to reach or unlock, and it becomes this communal phenomenon where it's like, well, okay, everyone, we gotta,
that's cool. Like, right? Even though I don't love other people that much, like I could get potentially behind something like that.
And you know for sure that Nintendo's not going to let voice chat or text chat really be part of this. So like, you know, I don't, if your concern is like, I don't want other shitheads, you know, being shitty in the chat, like there's no possible way that Nintendo would ever. It's going to be just emoticons and emotes and you know, hey, look at this and whatever.
Right. Yeah, they know how to handle that.
And then also like, I want to be able to like go into a world and see lots of other players doing stuff, but it would also be cool to be like, hey, our posse of 3 friends go in and work on a specific task together.
Yeah, that I would enjoy. And you know, I always kind of have the same feeling about this, which is that if I can do it with people I like and know, like you, Sky, Patrick, I might want to do it. If I have to do it with strangers, forget it.
Yeah. Continuing from IGN, the playtest looks a little bare bones to be considered a standalone game in its own right, although players are reporting having plenty of fun with it. Nintendo may be using the playtest with future games in mind, or perhaps it plans to flesh the test out over time with new features. Nintendo's secrecy over its playtest is almost as bizarre as the playtest itself. I certainly agree with that. The adorable idea that they would give people access to a secret game and then pretend like it wouldn't be on the internet in 1 second.
Yeah, like I don't. No. I mean, I don't even know why they would think that was going to be okay, but yeah, it's cool. Whatever.
Yeah, people have uploaded the soundtrack. There suggests, this is from the Insider article, other things discovered were the song files, text that would fit with a character creator, such as setting skin tone or body shape, and even files to suggest both PvE and PvP within the game. Mm-hmm. So I'm very, very interested.
Yeah,
I just want it to be.
It's weird because it's like do you think they'd get this far and then not put this out?
So that's a fantastic question. Really great question.
It's to me, it's pretty far.
Yeah. I want this to have a sense of wonder and community. You know, like I want to be able to log in and be like, whoa. Someone found this and now we're all over here like digging up this thing and there's treasure, or, you know, there's a new thing, a new world to explore, you know, wonder and delight, which Nintendo is great at. But again, looking back at the other products that this dev team is responsible for, they're great at making cool stuff, but not great at keeping us hooked on it.
Yes. Which, honestly, if you think about it, you think about that formula, right? And you think about like Nintendo and their polish and their, you know, all their expertise. And then you think about someone like, you know, Concerned Ape, who like single-handedly found a way to hook people on it for years.
And on a game that is, well, I mean, it has multiplayer, but it's not an MMO. It's not a live service game. But although it has regular content updates, you could argue. So it, you know, it's a perfect. You're making a perfect analogy of like it's a single player co-op game that also has some elements of live service because new content comes out for it with some regularity, and there's a sweet spot there where he has hooked the entire world on this, you know, $20 game.
Yep.
Anyway, go on. You're hitting the nail on the head.
No, that's all it is. I mean, like, you know, I am, and I mean, we've had this on this podcast for so many years. You know, I will over and over be in awe of the polish and excellence of Nintendo single player games. And I'm just trying to think. I'm like, they've done so many games. I feel like Nintendo were the masters of the couch co-op game. Like, there was a time, right? Like, when we were kids. But I'm thinking about co-op now, and couch co-op now. Yep. And I'm kind of thinking like, okay, when's the last time that they did couch co-op? Well, we're not really talking about couch co-op here, but that's beyond the point. When have you ever really seen them do anything well that involved a big group? Like lots of people playing from all over the place.
It's been few and far between, you know, and even the couch co-op stuff, they've had some wins, like Kirby and the Forgotten Land has decent couch co-op, but it's always ancillary. It's a great point of like all the marquee Nintendo games are really not meant for co-op. Like Mario Odyssey is a spectacular game that has it's like you can be Cappy as the second player. That sucks. Both Zeldas are arguably among the greatest video games ever made, and they are single player only experiences. The Kirby games are great, but the co-op is tacked on. So it is very fascinating of like, hey, the kings of couch co-op haven't made it like a spectacular couch co-op game in quite some time, and they're terrible at online. They're generally terrible at online ecosystems. Even their own eShop is just the most abysmal thing you could touch with a web browser.
That is accurate.
So yeah, again, I applaud them for venturing into these waters with something that's looks to be very innovative. Oh, that's the other thing we were talking about the Discord of like, okay, so you have the most recognizable video game franchises in history, and you're making an MMO, and none of your famous characters appear to be in it. This is not a Mushroom Kingdom MMO.
Right.
This is not a Zelda MMO, Hyrule MMO.
Why would you not create a world where all of your famous characters were in it? That doesn't make any sense.
Smash Brothers is not this, but like, what if we did a Smash? I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Look, and they should innovate, and they should create fresh IP. Almost everything that this studio has done is new IP. Everything I just read here has nothing to do with Super Mario Brothers or Zelda or Metroid or whatever. And in that way, it's great.
So maybe they felt like they shouldn't lean on those things here to create something completely new. You know what I mean? Nintendo.
Which is admirable, but like in a world where there's 600 free live service games every 5 seconds. This feels innovative and gutsy, but also super risky from a business point of view.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I just want them to stick the landing. I think it's awesome, but I want it to really hit, and I want to be like hooked on it for like 6 months. I want to be in it.
Yeah, I get it. You never know. I mean, we can't assume that that's not the case. Unfortunately, I guess the track record's not great, but it's not impossible. It's just,
this could be their time.
Maybe. So we'll see. We'll just wait and see.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any other major details, and I think the playtest is now over, so I don't know that we will get any additional meat off the bone here. And Nintendo has also not said anything or confirmed anything or said, yeah, this is the game. Like, they're just obviously cease and desisting all the streamers, and that is the end of the story, I suppose, until further notice.
As people of ye old internet used to say, this is why we can't have nice things. That's why.
That is about it. So if you're listening to this, we would love to hear, like, does this interest you? Have you seen the screenshots? Are you excited? Are you disappointed? Do you have faith that this could be a big hit, or are you wary? Are you cautiously optimistic? Please let us know. Well, we didn't really plan to talk about any other big news. Was there anything else on your mind from the week? Have you even been keeping up with anything?
No,
anything popping?
I haven't. But that said, I did briefly see today, which I think is, in a way, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I think that's stupid. But I saw that a lot of people are paying $90 for a World of Warcraft now.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, okay. And so I'm a person who's pretty okay with paying money in a game. Now, would I pay $90 for an in-game mount? Personally, no. But if someone did and they were like, I love this game so much, I would be like, I think that's okay.
If you've played World of Warcraft for 4,000 hours and your best friends in the world are in the game with you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's some cool bling to be had there, I suppose.
Right, I totally agree. So then I was like, well, I kind of want to see what this $90 mount looks like, And I went and looked it up, and I was like, okay, that's pretty rad.
It's good. It looks pretty good. I don't, again, I've never played WoW, but I assume if you can ride on through your village with this sick looking dinosaur,
it's really cool looking. Like I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And so, this is very fluff news, I guess, but like there's big discussions on Reddit, like, oh my God, they just made it because people will buy it. And like, I don't know. So I learned from the Reddit thread I read, because I was curious, is that it was this is temporarily available for purchase.
Sure.
It's called the Brutosaur, but in game, the original one was worth like 5 million gold.
Okay.
And so it was like a big to do. So I mean, if you're not like in the game and you don't know the history, you don't know that it's like, whoa, like I can just buy this really fancy mount.
This is it's a rare thing that most players can't access, and which it actually is like, does this blow up the economy of that commodity? That I'm always very fascinated with this, of like, if something is very rare in a video game economy, and then the developers are like, hey, here you go, anyone can have it, then that devalues that item suddenly and artificially. I find that to be fascinating.
Also, I'm going to read a comment because I have to read this. To be fair, it moves at 1.25 times the speed of any other mount, applies a pretty powerful timed passive defense buff on the rider, and has a fully modeled vulva.
That's where do I sign? Where do I put my credit card?
That's really funny. I don't know how they figured that out, but that's okay. I don't need to know. But yeah, if you got a Brutosaur, enjoy your Brutosaur.
You know what I was thinking about? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's really fucking crazy. I played World of Warcraft in 2007.
Okay.
Which means that 17, 18, 22, that was 17 years ago. And I'm like, wow, in 3 years, it's been 20 years since I've played WoW. And I'm like, that's so crazy. And then I'm like, the fact that WoW is going is crazy.
It is. It's a first mover thing. You know what I mean? Where there were no other MMOs, or the other ones were janky or different, and that was the first one that like was very, I presume, was very accessible to modern PC gaming audiences, and so it blew up. And because of that history, you have these veteran players who have been playing for 10, 20 years.
Right.
Because like, I guess what I mean by this is like, if you released WoW in its current form today and it was brand new, I don't imagine it would succeed, because there is just too much. The gaming landscape would be too different. It wouldn't have that longevity. My question for you is, how far into this game did you get back then? Were you?
Oh God.
Were you into the MMO world here?
I was for a while, actually. I played WoW. My most heavily played MMO was actually City of Heroes.
Okay, I
had a real good time with City of Heroes, probably around 2002, 2003, like those years. Really, really good time. Loved it. But yeah, like I did for a while, and then I think I hit a point where I was just like, okay, I'm good. So yeah, I don't know. I think I totally get that people have like played it for decades and got married at it and all that stuff, and I think that's awesome. But yeah, I don't think like it would be very hard to even get me to come to an MMO today, because I feel like I just don't have that kind of time or mental energy. Yeah,
I wonder what drew you to like a gaming social space back then versus now, as you said, of like, oh, it's not for me in this point in my life.
I think I had friends that were into it. And I think that I was like willing to do it because I had friends that I wanted to play with.
Yeah, that checks
but
out.
Then over time, when the newness wore off, I think I was probably kind of like, I'm good. Like, I don't think that like City of Heroes was probably the most fun because I played with people consistently for a period of time.
Yeah.
And also I liked one thing I didn't like about MMOs was that it as you went further, it became more and more difficult to play alone.
Right.
And I wanted to play alone because I was used to playing solo things. So I wanted the ability to do that. And so many games didn't allow you to. They really made you have people. And so I think that was probably my biggest turnoff about MMOs. Now, as I recall, and I think we have some Final Fantasy
14.
14. I think we have some Final Fantasy 14 players in our community. I think that Final Fantasy 14 might be playable solo, but I think it was meant to be back in the day, but I'm not sure if that's still the case now or not.
But I think modern game design has recognized exactly that challenge where you need a crew, a posse of real players, and you need to coordinate them in your guild and be like, at this time, we are going on this raid and doing this. And there is something magical about that because there is social hierarchy and there's leadership and there's coordination. And that I think is what makes an MMO like WoW or EVE Online very special, because modern game design has diluted that necessity a bit where it's like, oh, this raid is happening at this time. And then you just hop in and you're hopping in with other random players who can work together collaboratively to achieve a goal. And that is fun, but the game just like matches you up automatically to take the friction out of the social stuff, because they want you playing the game and grinding and eventually whatever you do, spend money on shortcutting that grind or whatever. So I don't know. I think I can only speak to EVE Online. I can't speak to WoW because I've literally never played it. But I think there is something to be said for, hey, y'all, we are all real people and we all really have to do real jobs to really move forward in this world, as opposed to like drop in, drop out co-op kind of stuff. And I love that, but similar to you is like, do I have time to run a corporation in EVE Online? I don't think I do, but my hat is off to cool people who do that because I find it really fascinating. For sure. Yeah. Man, oh man. One other thing I want to put on your radar as we're talking about WoW and such, there's a movie, a film, a documentary on Netflix. Perhaps you've heard of that streaming platform. It is called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin. Are you familiar with this at all?
I don't think so.
I just discovered it, and I'm trying hard to get the director of the film on my other show, because it's a documentary about a young boy, I think he's from the UK, who was diagnosed with some degenerative disease, maybe multiple sclerosis. And so it is sad and hopeful. The premise is that he was diagnosed with this disease that ultimately would sort of lock him in his body and paralyze him and end his life, which did happen. And his family just were obviously crushed and in mourning, because this is a kid who will never, be able to attend school normally, will never be able to play sports, will never have a social life the way a typical kid would. And he passed away. And then after he died, hundreds of people were messaging his parents online because he apparently lived this secret life inside of World of Warcraft. And he was like a very charismatic character. He had like a girlfriend in the game. I don't know if he ran a guild, but basically like he was a very respected and renowned player in a virtual world because he could not live a full life in the real world. And his parents never knew about it until after he died and discovered all these people who were like, I was your son's best friend and he was amazing to me. He was so kind. And I'm really excited to watch this movie, and maybe if the planets align, talk to the director of the film.
Wow.
It's such a good internet story. It's so tragic but amazing. Like, if this kid was born in the 1920s, he would have just sat in a chair and died. But instead, he lived a social life in a virtual world because that's all he could do. And I just think that's great and cool and inspiring. Anyway.
It is. It absolutely is.
So, yes, it's called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin, which was the name of his character in WoW.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, really beautiful. So it's on Netflix. You can watch it whenever. I plan to watch it, but I'm waiting to see if I can get an interview with this guy. So I'll keep you posted on that if it actually happens.
Please do. I would love that.
Anything else? Anything else percolating on the interwebs here? I'm
not for me personally, to be honest.
No Man's Sky released a new expedition, so it's not like a big update, but it's like a very short 2-week expedition, and it's very Halloween-y. It's called The Cursed, and it's like you get a lot of spoopy cosmetics from it. But notably, there is a new style of ship that you can get from the expedition, and it looks like a cool ass Millennium Falcon.
Neat.
And maybe I'll do it and get a cool ass Millennium Falcon. You know?
Hell yeah.
And then the other thing I noticed here is that Factorio got a DLC called Space Age.
Oh, fun.
And it had like 400,000 concurrent players on like the day that it launched. Like this is just Factorio being like, hey everyone, Factorio, still huge. Everyone's still obsessed with Factorio. Everyone's loving the DLC. All right, talk to you later. You know, like just like popping up on the internet being like, yep. Everyone's love this game is fucking huge. And Factorio is great. Not for everyone, but wowzers, it's a great game.
Yeah, I've never gotten to that one. I've certainly thought about getting to that one, but I just have never.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. Don't know when.
You got to prepare your brain for it a little bit, I think.
One day. This weekend, though, I just want to go back to Silent Hill.
Silent Hill. All right. Well, let's take a little break, and then, I'll ask you on the other side of this break. Let's pause, and we'll be right back. You have been moving. You claim you have not touched any games, but is there any? Have you fired up Silent Hill for even 5 minutes? Have you popped into a mobile game at any point?
No.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember what it was like to move into a house, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is.
I think since move day was Wednesday, not this one, but the prior one.
Yeah.
So I think it was pretty much move, unpack, collapse, go back to old house, clean, come back, which by the way is a 45-minute drive, unpack, collapse. Like that was pretty much it.
Yep.
So yeah, no. And then this Monday, I was back to work.
Yep.
And it was work, collapse every day. So yeah, I just haven't had the mental bandwidth.
This is your moment though. It's Friday night.
It's Friday night, and it's so different when you're in your 20s and you're like, Friday night, gonna get dressed and go out. And I was joking with one of my besties that I used to go out with when I was in my late teens and early 20s. We were like, remember when you used to come get me at 11 p.m. and we would literally laugh so hard. How even, right?
How even? I must confess, I don't think I was ever like that. I never was a going out person. We would do fun stuff with our friends, but I don't know, man. There was no place to go, and we didn't have money, so we just I don't know. We just stayed in and hung out, and we didn't go out to the clubs or the bars or anything. I also never drank alcohol, so that was never part of my life.
Well, I grew up in one of the party cities.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a part of why.
That's true. Yeah, look, if you live in a major city and like the world is alive around you, then that is the place to be.
Totally.
New
And it was
Orleans,
fun.
New York City. Yeah.
It was fun. I had a great time and I did it a lot.
Yeah.
And I am good.
But when you live in the suburbs, it's like, okay, where are we going to go? Okay, we're going to drive to a place, and then you drive to a bar, and then you're at that place. There's nowhere else. Like, you don't, it's not city living. It's just a different thing, and
It's totally
it never
a
appealed
different
to
thing.
me.
Like, I've done the city living, I've done the going out, I've done all that, and now I'm going to do the suburb living. And, it's so funny how, like, people are like, oh, suburbs are so boring. It's like, if you've done the one thing and you want to go do the other thing, I think they're both, like, really rewarding and wonderful.
Yeah,
I just think it depends on where you are in your life and, all of that.
For sure. Well, I'm sorry that you have not played anything, but I look forward to more Silent Hill discussion next week.
It will absolutely be there, and you may also get some Metaphor Refantasio discussion because today I discovered that there's a free demo on Steam and it's extremely long. So go get it.
I need to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and we can talk about it because I have heard
thank you so
nothing but
much.
great things about it. And now that we have a PC cafe in house, I'm going to make time because I did buy Silent Hill 2 on PS5, and that's in one room in our house, not the living room.
Yeah.
But since the PC is in the PC cafe, that's where I'm going to try Metaphor. So I'm probably going to like split some time between games. But yes, I'd love to talk about that next week.
Yeah, why did I not remember that there was a demo unless it's very recent? Shit, I got to do this.
I didn't even know. Had no idea.
I was not, this game was really not on my radar. And then I think it was Tricky Love in our Discord was like, oh, I picked it up. And I was like, oh, right, that's coming out. And then the more I read about it and looked at it, I was like, yeah, this looks pretty cool. Like, I feel like I could get into it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's literally a new IP from the Persona people. Like, that's all I needed.
Yep.
But
it's $70 on all the platforms. And so I was like, ooh, I wonder if I'll check. And then I was like, oh, I don't know. But now that there's a demo, that equation changes.
To be honest with you, I really think $70 is the new $60.
It is.
And
it is
fine.
And it isn't.
It's only a $10 difference, but it also is well for AAA. But I also think that it's just something we're going to have to get used to. Like, there'll be a time in the future where we're all like $70, okay, like, and we're not gonna have this reaction. But right now, we're still having it.
But I'm starting to. Not even starting. I think I've been in a place for a little while where I can count on one hand the games that I need to own the day they come out. It's very few. And now when I see even $60 and now $70, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to wait for a Steam sale. I'll wait 6 months. I'll get it in a bundle, whatever, and I'm fine with that, with the exception of, Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
That's really it. I mean, knowing what I know now about Baldur's Gate 3, that's not true, because Baldur's Gate 3 released into early access and then definitely had some bugs and challenges. So I'm actually very glad I waited to buy it a year later and buy it at a discount. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. I can't think of any other games that I'm like, I need it on day one. Maybe when Subnautica 2 hits, which was just announced.
Yeah. I mean, you've loved that, so that makes sense. For me, Silent Hill was I struggled with it even, but it was a day one. But yeah, I don't have a lot of day ones either. Like, I was really excited about Neva, and I still really want to play it, although it's gotten some mixed reviews. But like, I'm not going to get it right now. Like, I got something on my hands. So
and then there's all, like, even when you have those indies, it's like, oh, a great indie, okay, $20, $25, like that I will happily grab.
Right.
I'm thinking about picking up Rogue Flight, which I talked about with Sky last week, which we both really loved, and is I didn't even realize was coming out for Switch, and it looks great there. So that might be a little guilty pleasure, but for me, Zelda, Subnautica, what was it? Well, I was just thinking of something else that was very.
And I think that's okay. Because, I mean, we've talked at great length about how, there's just way too much. And so if the way that we cope with way too much is, well, I'm really rarely going to buy a thing on release day, that's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the world we're in. Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out in February. And I recently wishlisted it on Steam. And I'm like, oh, fuck, $70. But they just announced this. There's an open beta for Monster Hunter Wilds. I believe there's different dates on different platforms, but I believe for PC, Steam, it starts on Halloween, October 31st, but it's late at night, at least here Eastern time. So I'll probably check it out the following, during the weekend. And yeah, that's another one where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to get to play this game early and see it and really feel it and then decide if I'm going to like buy it day one for $70. Because I don't know, there's something about that where it's like, hey, everyone, it's a co-op game and it's an online game. So it's like, hey, everyone's going to be playing this at the same time and experiencing it together. There's something about that appeals to me. So that might be my next full price purchase. We'll see.
Yeah.
But thank you for reminding me about Metaphor.
I was super excited actually because I already had my plans for the evening and I was already like Silent Hill, and then I was like, ooh, maybe some Silent Hill, and then maybe
play Silent Hill until you get too creeped out and or stuck, and then hop over to Metaphor and see.
Exactly. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm very hyped about it. But yeah, that's it. That's my big gamer weekend. It's Halloween weekend actually, I realized, and I was like, yeah. Awesome. Like Halloween weekend, spooky games, cool Atlas games. Fine.
Love it. You're set up. Yeah.
Works for me.
I'm glad we arrived at this because the other thing that I'm doing now is I'm stopping myself. I'm playing a lot of demos, which I talked about last week, and then I'm not purchasing new games if I can help it. Because as you and many listeners can relate, I'm sure it's like, we own a fuck ton of games on all the things, Steam, Switch, whatever your console of choice is. And what I'm suddenly realizing is if you kind of just like, you're like, oh, I'm craving like an action, like I'm playing a lot of Baldur's Gate, but I need like an action game. Oh, I tried a demo of like a flight sim. I want to like, shoot things in the air. What? And I scroll through my library and I'm like, you know what? Here's a game that I played for only like an hour and a half and bounced off of because for whatever reason. And I'm like, you know what? I should give that a go. And it's like, I already own it. I don't have to rebuy it. I load it up and I'm like, oh my God, this game rules. This, for example, is a game called House of the Dying Sun, which is a space combat sim with a light story, which is basically like, you are like the guard of an imperial, like a galactic empire, and the emperor's been murdered, assassinated, and you are like hunting down the other people in the government who plotted the assassination. So what it is these really quick pinpoint space missions where you pilot a fighter, but you're in a squad with other ships, which you're gradually building up, and you are trying to get in. You're trying to destroy the ships of the target assassinations. And as the ships explode, they escape in a pod. And you're like, order your squad to be like, they're escaping. And you nail the pod. And then it's like, you did it. And then, oh shit, reinforcements are coming. So you can either stay and fight the reinforcements, or you can hyperspace out of the scenario. And it's a very exciting push-pull little thing. But every mission is like 3 minutes max. So you're just in it, zipping in, zipping out. You can redo the missions to unlock new currencies, to unlock new ships and new abilities and stuff. And it's just got everything that I like. And I think it's a fairly short game. I think you can kind of do all the things and then kind of redo them for extra challenges and extra bonus currencies or whatever. But it's really beautifully made, and it's got a really like low poly aesthetic. So it just looks pretty, but it's very stylized, And it's just got very good like audio design. Like you're hearing your squad mates on the audio on the comms, and you're ordering them around. And anyway, it's kind of like if Homeworld made a first person ship combat game. Like if you were piloting a ship in the Homeworld universe, that's what this game feels like, and I love it. And I knew I would like it when I bought it, whenever it was years ago, but I didn't stick with it for whatever reason. I'm like, oh great, free game.
Yep,
loving it.
Yep.
So anyway, point being, it's very nice to go through your catalog and be like, what am I in the mood for? Oh great, I already own 3 games that are like that. I don't need to buy a 12th version of this.
You know what I completely forgot about?
Please.
I forgot about that Next Fest is going on.
Yeah.
And that all the demos are out there.
Yeah, that's I have not bought anything. I've just been playing demos, and Sky and I talked about a variety of demos on last week's episode. And I feel like I've been playing like 20 games, but I have not bought or invested a lot of time in any single one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got a bunch of demos, and we've only played one of them. And I hate to admit I don't remember the name right now, so I'm going to have to ask Patrick. But it was a really cool, like the vibe of it felt a little bit like Inscription, but you were sitting at a table, and you're sitting around the table with 3 people who are your family members, but their faces are televisions. And the thing you have to do is you have like an old decrepit looking computer in front of you, and you have to like it's the weirdest combination, but it works. You have to do like hangman and like word scrambles, and if you can't get them right, one of your family members dies. And if you get them right, eventually there's a really gruesome way I won't give away that they die anyway.
Great.
Yeah, but like it's the weirdest mashup, and I was like, okay, that's just too weird. I gotta try it.
That's great.
And I played it, and I was like, this is pretty fun. I don't know if I'd come back to it all the time, but I loved that it was so innovative that it was like, this is like a really dark horror scenario, but you're gonna play Hangman.
The ultimate game of Hangman, because it's like when you're playing like Hangman on a paper, it's like, oh no, don't let the man get hung, but now it's like you're sitting around with the family, and then you're trying to save their lives, whatever.
Yeah, and it's got a very like, very, very like dark vibe, and I was just like, yeah, this is fun, this is really innovative and interesting. I forgot about the fact that there's probably another 15 demos sitting up there in the PC cafe, so I've got to trial those too. I guess I'm just gonna game all weekend.
Yep, sounds great to me.
Could be worse.
Do it. Report back. I will certainly do the same. One other just PSA I did throw in the Discord, but I have talked at length with you and on the internet about how shitty Echoes of Wisdom runs on the Switch, and I am thrilled to report that I think it was Monday of this week, they released patch 1.0.2 or something, just a minor patch that's like fixed a few bugs and a little bit and some minor improvements. I was like, all right, let's check it out.
Fixed it?
Totally fixed.
Nice.
They finally capped the frame rate of most of the game, the overworld and traversal. They capped it at 30, which is where it should have been the whole time. So now it just runs at a pretty stable 30 instead of bouncing and yo-yoing between 60 and 30 every 2 seconds, which was an awful experience.
Wow.
And it's like, oh my God, this is playable now. It's like, I mean, it's been playable, but it's like every time I turned it on, I was like, ugh, I just don't like playing this, even though it's such a lovely game. And now when I boot it up, I'm like, oh wow, okay, let me go to this dungeon. Let me do this quest. It's just, I'm so pleased because I had so little faith that Nintendo / Grezzo, whatever the, party, the studio was, would actually return to it, because they so rarely do. They rarely fix major performance issues in Nintendo games, because A, they usually don't have performance issues, and B, it's kind of like we ship it when it's done, and that it took a month. It was a month later for them to fix this thing, but they did. And now I can say, if Echoes of Wisdom looks good to you, you should play Echoes of Wisdom, because it is a fun time.
I want it and I don't want to miss out on it. So, I mean, I do plan to definitely go back to it. I just, obviously I've got something kind of big on my hands, but
For sure.
when it passes, I do want that because I love the Zelda experience and I'm so super soft for the
The art style.
chibi vintage. Yeah, like that vibe just really works for me. So yeah, I got to go back to it, and I will.
I was trying to describe the vibe and I couldn't put my finger on it, or I was trying to explain like, oh, it's like those toys, and then my wife was like, yeah, it's Fisher Price Little People.
Oh, she's right. And
Right?
I grew up with those, and they were like favorites for me.
Yeah. And
So,
she
yes.
doesn't collect them per se, but she collects vintage things, and we have a small collection of vintage toys, and Fisher Price Little People, authentic ones from the 70s and 80s, are semi-valuable these days. So she has a small collection. I'm like, oh my God, this is little Princess Zelda is like on the shelf here. It looks exactly like those toys in a good way. It's very well done.
That's so awesome. Okay, added to list, will do.
That's it. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let us know what you're going to be playing over this weekend. Discord, email. Again, if you have never heard of Annie, the musical, or the Little Orphan comic strip, please let us know because we have to know. There's no way to settle this without your input. So thank you so much.
Yep, it's the truth.
And I suppose we'll talk at you next week.
Bye-bye.